Let us be gentle with ourselves and technology. Okay, it says that we are live. So welcome, everybody, to our first Create on the 8. Welcome to people far and wide and near. My name is Dr. Angelica Pina-Perez. I am part of an initiative with all of the expressive arts core faculty to create these events and these gatherings to kind of explore what we're doing in the field, make some art together in multiple mediums, because that's what we do, including introducing more and more the emerging mediums, especially digital arts. I'll speak in a moment of who our presenter is, but I wanted to give you a little background as to what we're going to be doing throughout the year. So all of these events, these gatherings, are going to be on the 8th of every month through the academic year. You're welcome to come participate here on campus, in the virtual space, and also asynchronously, right? Meaning that you may not be able to engage in that present moment, but just know that your community, wherever you are, is making art, definitely making art on the 8th of every month. We hope and encourage that you make art more consistently and as a daily practice, if you can, as self-care and critical reflection of your training here and your professional identity. But this is just another place where we all come together. And so I'm just going to let you know that next month we already have a speaker coming in, actually a group of speakers. We had a student-led initiative go to Haiti on a service learning trip in the summer, and they're going to be coming in and speaking about doing the expressive arts with the communities that were devastated by the 2010 Haitian earthquake. Okay, so please tune in for that or come by. I'm going to tell you briefly a little bit of how tonight is going to work. So for the first hour, Steve, and I'll give him a formal introduction in a moment, will be facilitating conversation and really an experiential experience of the work that he's doing. Then after that, we're going to take the second hour, play it by ear. All right, we're going to see what emerges. There's also the ability to work in more traditional art forms, both here or wherever you are. But what I'd like us to do also is to consider how to engage together with who's here in person and who is joining us from wherever they are in the world. So a couple of ideas on that, although we're open to many more, is that we're going to have a Twitter live haiku slam happening on Twitter. So be sure to use the hashtag Create on the 8 and Leslie University, as indicated in my emails. And also, we're going to try to pair up people who are interested, who have their laptops, to pair them up through kind of Skype or Link, or even just email exchange to figure out how to make art together between whoever's here present in this space here in Cambridge and in the virtual space. So you guys out there, just email me at apinape@leslie.edu, and we'll hook that up with people who are interested here. It's kind of the first time we're doing this, so it's a little bit of a experiment, right? But what we just want to do is creatively and curiously and also critically evaluate and work through all our arts-based practices and explore them, right, with an open mind. So let us be gentle with ourselves and each other tonight, especially considering all of this new technical stuff that we're introducing, seeing what it means for our profession, right, and what it means for our world and how we're developing psychologically and as communities, right? So welcome to the big experiment. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Stephen Koppel. He is a retired business consultant who's currently active in several nonprofits, including board roles at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and the Trichotillomania Learning Center. Welcome. Welcome. We have people arriving, and I'm sure hopefully people are also arriving through the virtual space. Based on his own therapeutic personal experiences, Steve believes strongly in the ability of digital imagery to serve as a powerful form of personal expression. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about expressive digital imagery and what that means for him and his work and what he's doing. And then we're going to dive in a little bit into some experiential work. People, wherever you are at home, tweet me or email me if you can hear this or not, if this is working or not, and I'll try to make adjustments as we can. It's the first time we're doing it, so it's pretty low tech. Hopefully we'll get my division department and chair and dean to give me a little money for this so we can go a little bit more high tech. So definitely let's advocate for that. But I'm going to turn it over to Steve. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Angelica. Thank you all for being here. It's a real pleasure. I had a chance to meet several of you, some of you actually in February. And it was a terrible day. I remember walking on the road and thinking about how hard it was to get around from place to place in some parts of the world. But today is a little bit better. As Angelica said, I spent my entire career as a very boring business consultant. I never studied arts. I had nothing to do with the arts. And I have never considered myself to be a very artistic person. And then something happened in my life. We had some medical issues in our family, and it basically, for one reason or another, it ended up with me taking up photography. And I didn't take it up with the idea that it would be therapeutic to me in any sense. It was really just a hobby in some ways to get away or to lose myself away from some of the issues that we were facing. And it blew me away, to be honest, in terms of what it did for me. I do a lot of my photography on the Cape. I would spend endless hours wandering the flats in Brewster with my camera, searching for things I hadn't seen before, experiencing and feeling things that I had never felt before. And it really changed my life in a lot of ways. I would never call myself an artist, although I do practice photography a lot on my own now as well. But in my kind of post-business consulting life, I've focused almost for the last 14 years on getting back, and I do a lot of volunteer work in the community, so it was natural for me to start thinking about how I could apply what photography had done for me into different kinds of ways. And that's really where the idea of MyMoments was born. And about a year ago, I founded this nonprofit organization, and it's been an evolution, but it's come to a place that I just am extraordinarily passionate about and feel is just a brand new, wonderful opportunity with endless possibilities using essentially digital art enabled by technology to enable personal expression in ways that aren't otherwise possible. And I know nothing compared to what all you do in terms of the studies that you've done and the research, and those of you who published and are studying this. What I have seen, though, and felt from the people that have been involved with this, I just can't ignore. We started at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute with cancer patients and staff. We went to Rosie's Place, which many of you know is a women's shelter here in Boston. I spent a lot of time at the Gosnell Addiction Center, which sees over 12,000 patients a year from all over the country. And just this week, we've signed an arrangement with McLean Hospital and really partners in general, where we're going to start working with bipolar patients, those with eating disorders, those in the OCD Institute, and others who have signed up as well, to use this new form of digital expression. And I don't even call it therapy anymore, because it really is personal expression enabled by a very ubiquitous technology, essentially the smartphone in your pocket or the tablet that's in your bag. You'll see using an extraordinarily simple technology tool. For those of you familiar with photo editing, you're going to recognize this, and I'll show this to you very quickly, but we use an app that's free. It's not my own app. It's owned by Google. It's one of hundreds that are available, but it's unbelievably powerful, engaging, fun. And it doesn't matter if it's kids at Mass General who we've worked with, or, as I said, the homeless woman who comes in off the street. It's ubiquitous in terms of the power of personal expression. And so that's what I want to share with you today. I'm going to do a lot of that and I'm going to run through them pretty quickly because we don't want to spend too much time on the presentation piece. Then I want to give you a quick demonstration of using Snapseed. If you've already loaded it on your devices, that's great. If not, we can do it afterwards. And then maybe, as Angelica said, we can do some art together in a way that is personally expressive, in a way that however you want to do that. Fair enough? Sound good? Okay. So I like to start with this series of images. I apologize, the color is not nearly as vibrant as it is on my screen. Let me just give you a sense by looking at the screen what the difference is. And I'm not going to do this on every single one, but I do want to at least show you what this is. And this is a series of images that were created by a young woman at the Gosnold Addiction Center. And she did these her choice was to tell the story of her journey from addiction to recovery. Can anybody tell what this image started as? Yeah, these are dumpsters behind the treatment center. And she used this in her group therapy session to describe what her life was like when she was using. And you see how she super saturated the colors and added the border, and you wouldn't necessarily even tell that that's what it was. But this was her personal expression of what her life was like in one phase. And then she turns it into a story. And this is hard to tell exactly what this is, but this was in the winter. These are bushes with snow. And you see what she said about that. And she said this was how her life felt. How she looked on the outside, she looked dead, but she was really still alive inside. This one is a brilliant image. You'll never guess what it was, but this was basically in the hallway of the treatment center looking up at the fluorescent lights. And she turned them upside down. Again, I'm going to turn the screen around because I want you to get a chance of see the brilliant color that she did, because she viewed this as a glowing staircase, as a glowing staircase to a new life. And that's what she talked about. And again, this was her use of art, starting with something. She had an iPad, and she was in a hallway in a sterile treatment center, and it turned it into this kind of deeply expressive image. In real life, she happened to be a personal chef. She went into the kitchen, and she took what she described as a timeless view of what was going on in the kitchen to again say, from a timeless perspective, she's always going to be a chef. That's what she's going to do. She's going to get through this phase of her life. And in the end, she said this is the new life she has waiting for her. This is a dried flower arrangement in a conference room. And everybody in the room talked about how beautiful this was. I could embellish this a lot with all the hugs and tears that went along with her telling this story and the dynamics and the sharing that came out. But hopefully you get a sense just from seeing it. Any reactions or thoughts when you see this? See?
Really beautiful. Yeah. I love your life lies ahead of you, because it's kind of like that suicidal, you never know what's ahead. I've been thinking about that.
Yeah. So you're saying that you love it because of what it's saying about her life moving ahead into something more positive as opposed to something negative.
Yeah. In relation to even suicide, for some reason, I've been thinking about that maybe since Robin Williams and all.
Yeah. Compared to
we don't know what's ahead.
Yeah, we don't know what's ahead, and compared to something that ends tragically in suicide.
Yeah.
So we call this expressive digital imagery. Personally, I view this as a field that is waiting to evolve. It is as I said to you, I believe it's so effective because it's ubiquitous. It's in our pockets. It's engaging. It's easy, and it's humanizing. And again, I am not, studious about this, but when I hear the patients talk about how this makes it easy to communicate things that they couldn't otherwise do, or they'll say things to me. Somebody once tried to get me to draw pictures of my family members because I was in therapy and I was talking about issues with my mom and dad, and they said, the therapist told me to draw stick figures because I couldn't draw. It just didn't work. With this, you don't need artistic ability. The power of the technology enables expression in ways that traditional art forms often don't. And I'm not saying that's true in every single case, but what we have seen for so many people is that it's enabling new kinds of expression. So these are the only images that I'll show you that I took. I love this because this is the main hallway at Dana-Farber that connects the inpatient and the outpatient. And if you're a patient, Dana-Farber, God forbid, you will know this hallway because you will be walking on it multiple times in your care. And I show this to the patients. I say, here's the same image, and this is the same image, and this is the same image. Okay, it's all starting as the same photograph, and it's transformed multiple times. And inevitably, people will say, when you got to this image, Steve, it conjured up a specific memory of something along my journey. It's just the way the mind works. Or a staff member will say, actually a nurse said to me, when you got to that last one, I remembered a particular patient that I took care of. So this is just a way that we sometimes use of inspiring people for how the imagery can be so effective. So now I'm going to quickly take you through just some different images that patients have created. You already saw one person's story of their addiction from from addiction to recovery. This was a woman, and you can tell what this is. This is the empty salad bar in the cafeteria, and you see what she wrote about how the glass and the metal meant something to her. And it's a stunning image. I mean, you would look at that, I mean, I do, and say that's a stunning, impactful image in and of itself, without even thinking about what she was trying to express about her life.
Yes. Would you mind reading what it says for our people at home?
Each set of glass and metal represents me breaking through the pain in my life. The door in the background I see is the door to my happiness.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is the most brilliant image of all, and for those on the computer, it basically just says the story of my addiction. A gentleman went into lot at the treatment center at Gosnold. He took this image of the front seat of his car, and he proceeded to tell a story that he said he could never tell before, and he hadn't told before, even to his therapist. This was the stories of addiction, because every day after work, he would drive in his car to an isolated place, spend 6 or 7 hours getting high, smoking cigarettes, doing nothing else. He was all by himself, basically, as he described, wasting his life away until he knew when his parents would be in bed. He then drove home, went to sleep, repeated the whole cycle the next day. Okay, and the way he took that in, you can't really tell here, but the crack in the vinyl seat. I'm just going to flip this around as well, because you can just see the treatment that he's given with the shading and the coloring. You know, it was not very hard for him to do this. But this image, I personally just viewed as, you know, a brilliant depiction, and part of it is because I was in the room listening to him talk about how he had never been able to describe this before. I'm going to go through these quickly because I don't want to spend too much time, because I can talk about this forever.
Yeah, we want to try it.
Okay, let me skim through these quickly. This gentleman talked about the trees on the left look dead, the trees on the right look alive. He was the one in the middle. He had choices to make in life. This gentleman talked about his path to recovery, and he created a very stunning image that way. Just like I had the Dana-Farber before and after, someone took these steps from the woods and created different versions showing getting brighter in life. Birds representing freedom from addiction. So the bipolar disorder, we haven't actually started working with patients yet, but I'm going to give you a sense of some of the things that could be used to inspire as examples. The whole idea of stigma is one of the things that the therapist wants to focus on in the workshops. So here's an example of an image, because she talks about these people with bipolar often talk about stigma as they feel different from everyone else. The concept of mania, where people spend money uncontrollably, stress, life tied up in knots, coping mechanisms, you know, going to the beach, hope for the future. Again, just examples. We've done this with kids at the Mass General program. These are high school freshmen who are in a stress management program. This was one kid's depiction of how he manages stress. This is his pillow. Okay, that's an image of his pillow, and you can see how he's artistically treated that. Family members that are special. You notice that none of the Gosnold pictures had pictures of people for privacy reasons, of course. This was one student's music list, okay, from his iPod. I guess it was his, I'm not sure what the technology was, but this was their music list, and music was one of their stress management pieces. You know, just unique cropping of a skyline of a place that's meaningful. food. And finally, sometimes it's just a matter of personal creativity. It doesn't have to be around a therapy or expressing a specific message. This was done by a woman at Rosie's place. And again, there were hugs and tears all around when she created it. It's hard to tell the texture that she put over the threads. I'm using one of the filters on the app that I will show you, or images like this that I often tell people could hang on a wall, artistically. So those are all the examples I wanted to share, and I do want to now take you in and show you how the app works, but let me just pause in case there are any questions that anybody has at this point. I know I went through those fast because we want to kind of get to the doing.
Right, and I also want to invite people, wherever you are, to email me your questions if you should want to. But maybe also, I think what could be interesting is to get started experientially to kind of figure out how this affects you and what you think about emerging mediums versus more traditional art-making forms before we start kind of a lively conversation
so you want me to keep
about
going
the debate of what this means, right? So I think maybe I'm sensing that we want to kind of dive in a little. We're experiential creatures.
I'm ready, man.
All right. We're ready to try things and then see what we think about them.
I got it. Okay.
You know? Did everyone have a chance to download Snapseed?
Okay. Well,
Did y'all miss that memo? Sorry. So talk them through maybe a little quick thing about downloading Snapseed. That was an attachment in the email, and also,
why don't I give a 3-minute demo of Snapseed, and then we'll go through and we'll download it to each person's phone. Is that all right? Okay. So basically, when we do in Snapseed, it's free. As I said, it's owned by Google. There are hundreds of these things out there. I picked this one because it's so darn easy to use and very intuitive. How many of you use Lightroom or Photoshop or done any kind of photo editing? Okay, so some of you have seen it. You'll see how much easier this is. So basically, when you first go into Snapseed, you're going to see there's an open ability, and you can just basically access a photo library. So if it's on your phone or your iPad, you can go to whatever it is. I have a library called Snapseed Training. I'm going to open this image, and this is the starting image that I want to work with. And then these are all the menu options that I can go through. First thing I like to do is I crop the image. You saw it. Did you see where it said crop here with the purple brackets? You've probably all seen things like this. And now I can just pinch the screen, and I want to focus just on that tree. And I want to say yes. I want to apply that. So that's my new image. Okay. Now here's where the really powerful stuff comes in. I like to start people right where that yellow wrench is, where it says Tune Image. Press on Tune Image. The beauty of this, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my finger because you won't see that up on the screen, is if I take my finger and I go up and down, I can see all the different ways that I can tune that image so that I can essentially digitally manipulate it. So I want to change the brightness. I take my finger off, and now I go left and right. So I'm going to go right to brighten that image. I want to add saturation, give it a lot. I want to add some contrast to it. It's getting a little crazy looking there. I tell people, do the extremes. Maybe you want to make it look, softer, or I want to make it look, a lot harsher. I say now I'm done.
Step back. Okay. So they can also see.
So
thank you.
There's my new image, and what people love to see the first time is that I press on Compare at the very bottom. It shows here's where I was, and here's where I am. And obviously what I'm assuming said something to me on this picture was the tree, and I want to focus on the tree, and maybe it means something to me, power or hope or beauty or whatever it might be. Then where it gets really fun is this just infinite number of things. So I sometimes take people into this function called grunge, where I can do all the different filters. And each time I press on shuffle, okay, I get a whole new image that's created out of it. But the beauty is I can get one that's a starting point that's kind of close to something I have in mind. And then again, I can put my finger on here, and I can adjust it even further, however I want to, with contrast. I can add all kinds of different textures to it.
Cool.
And that's what happens. So
maybe some hands-on playing with this. What would you like? What's the directive that you'd like to give us here and across the world where we are as to what we want to do?
Okay, so what I would suggest is we'll go into the App Store and we'll download Snapseed. And I would suggest one of two things. Either take a photograph that's already on your device. Okay, it could be a picture that's on one of your on your camera roll, and use Snapseed to create something that's some sort of personal expression, whatever you'd like to be. Or take a picture here today. And like when we're at Gosnell, we're in a room like in a sterile room. It's amazing what people find things to take pictures of. And so, or it could be walking around this building, anything that you would like, or for people who are on the computer at their homes or wherever, take a picture of something around you and then play with it. Yeah.
So how about this in the service of time, because this event itself, the presentation, is live streaming only for 1 hour. And then if we need to, I can create a new event that will continue to live stream. Let us take 10 minutes. It's 7:30. All right? Take 10 minutes at home and here to kind of play with this, see what emerges, and send it to my email if you'd like to share it with the greater community, both here live and through the virtual space. Okay, so you guys too, feel free to send me stuff, send me one picture, and then we'll see how we can facilitate a conversation about this work and what it may or may not mean, and how we approach the work as expressive arts practitioners versus what are some possibilities for it, what are some issues we may have with it, right, to move us into that. Then we'll see where we go from there. 10 minutes, okay? All right, so we're going to keep live streaming. So if you have a question or concern or curiosity, you can tweet me at Pina Perez. Use the hashtag #CREATE You can also email me. You have my email, and we'll also keep you informed of what's going on. So go for it.
It looks just like this at the bottom. If you search for Snapseed on the App Store.
So let me know if you have problems downloading. Everyone downloaded?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi down here.
Oh no, so if we're having... Okay, I just want to give a shout out to Alyn Davis. She is watching from afar, and remind me, Alyn, where are you? Who remembers where Alyn is from? North Carolina, right? North Carolina. So she's joining us. She's letting us know what she's hearing and seeing. So thank you for joining us. I look forward to receiving your image, Alyn. Should you want to share it, that's your choice.
Are people able to get Snapseed or not?
No. Maybe if I went upstairs, I could.
You might have to go to your settings and then go to wireless to see.
Do you have to have wireless to take it down?
No, you could do it through cellular.
Yeah, you can do it through your data.
So you can download Snapseed through wireless or through your data plan.
Yes.
This app can also be accessed through Chrome apps.
No, it won't work on the laptop. When they first bought it, yes, but no.
So please note, there's been a question. This app is only applicable in phone and tablet format. It will not work on a PC or laptop, correct?
If you already have retro camera or Instagram or something, those are similar apps. Although Snapseed has nifty things that goes to.
Yeah, this is I'm not familiar with retro camera, but this is much more powerful than Instagram.
So we just had a comment from the audience that there are other apps that may be useful. Steve recommends that we use Snapseed, but yeah, in the interim, if you have something, right, if you're already on Instagram, that's also something that we can use for this activity tonight, or this art space research. So just notice what it's like to interact with this medium. Think about this the same way we approach all our arts materials. How are you coming into an encounter with it? What does it bring up for you? What is it doing? I also want to encourage people who are here in Cambridge, if you don't have a way to connect in the virtual space, the library is still open and they lend out iPads. Just so you know, right? That might be.
Got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I definitely meant use whatever you've got right now.
So, people at home, let me know if you're here and you're joining us. Check in with me on Twitter or email me so I can follow up and facilitate some sort of dyad connection with an on-campus participant who's here in the latter part of CREATe on the 8 if you're interested in doing synchronous art making in the virtual space in some way, whether that's using this medium that we're currently looking at or doing something completely different. Your imagination is endless, right? So I'm going to show you who's here. Hey everybody, say hi to the people in virtual space. Unfortunately, we can't see you, but email me and we'll let them know.
I know, I'm trying to, it's hard to
So it's interesting, notice that process. If you're lost in technology, that's what's coming up for the people in this space in Cambridge. What is that? Yeah, what is that bringing up? That's also part of this discussion, right? So it's taking a little bit longer than we might anticipate.
I've been instructed to send this to you. How do you want it? Email,
Actually,
text?
let me do a little test and see whether it shows. It might sometimes.
Okay, so we're at about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, let's see, even if we're having technical issues, let's be gentle with it. Let's see what we're able to do. Okay? The irony of it all. That if you have been able to do it and you're interested in sharing, we would love to receive those so we can also look at that and do some research or some reflection on it together.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. Twitter?
Yeah, and whatever you feel comfortable with sending it, you can send it through Twitter. It's Pina Perez, or through my email, apinape@Leslie. So that's yours? Sweet. So in a few minutes we'll get started because we already have one image that is currently on. That's Kellogg's image, a professor on the core faculty of Expressive Arts Therapies here. So we're going to see, we appreciate your pioneering spirit and your courage to share this, and we have your phone.
Whenever banners come up in the meantime.
Text messages.
Realize that.
So that's quite a vulnerable space. Kellogg's just realized that her phone is also connected through our VGA cable, and that might mean a whole bunch of other things may come up. So we'll be gentle with her.
Yeah, just send it to me.
I just want to give a shout out to Kathleen Hall, who just wrote me that she's with us playing with Snapseed. Her 11-year-old is with her, so she's really enjoying it too, right? And that's part of this intergenerational exploration of the arts in encounters with others, right? So thank you for sharing that, Kathleen.
Yes.
When we do this, will it save
Or
as
cat,
another,
right?
Will it save as a separate image?
It never overwrites your current image.
Perfect.
I should have said that.
Save it in a different folder, or is it like
There's
a photo stream?
a folder called Snapseed. It'll create a folder called Snapseed and it'll save it there. Yeah.
So we're hearing this is fun. So in about 1 minute, we have a countdown. We'll get started with some images. I also have a couple of other images here.
Can I take mine away?
Well, no, we're gonna look at it and talk about it.
You worried that this text gonna pop?
No.
Angelica,
Yeah.
I email you, can it be through my Gmail?
And what I'll do is I'll probably have to get on your laptop, Steve, to access the
Okay,
emails.
I turned Wi-Fi off, but if you can connect me.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Oh, no, actually, I can do it through there, too. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll figure it out, guys. Oh, we'll send it to someone.
The drama filter is like the wrinkle buster.
All right, so we're going to get started. We're going to get started while people are still playing. Maybe we'll invite Kellogg to, how do you
so-
work, Steve?
No, that would be great. Kellogg can just, I even asked what the image started as.
Am I supposed to know which filters I used?
No.
So come up here, Kellogg.
If you know, you can tell.
I'd have to look. But the image is, okay, what do I pick up to show them?
Your phone.
No, to show them what I took the picture of.
Oh, what?
You'd have to bring it over.
You have to
here.
bring it over there
Camera.
because the camera is right here.
Okay, can we just aim it towards the drums?
Okay.
Because that, I don't know if you can see, on the other side of the silver drum on top of the table, there's brushes also. So that's what that is. And it was very difficult. Thank you, Anna. So, of course, the drum's reflective, so me and my pink phone, or pink otter case, were in there too. So really the cropping was around getting the me and the phone out of the image more than anything else. And then I just started pushing buttons, and I don't know which ones I pushed.
That's a lot of what people describe, is they just play with it. And eventually what happens is the person's finger on the screen is like an expression of their heart and soul and what they're feeling.
Well, because there's a lot of, that's not it. Back to, that's not it.
Yeah.
So any reactions, thoughts from the audience or people at home? Yes.
Well, I thought what you were saying kind of is like that idea, you get into the intuitiveness, and it moves quickly. You're not thinking, well, will I do this, or what am I trying to make? You just are flowing.
Absolutely right.
So actually, let us kind of create some protocol here. So I'm going to rephrase a little bit what you shared. I'm actually going to invite you to come up here and share here your questions so that our people all over the world, however many there are, can also hear.
So Steve said that your finger gets to be part of your heart and soul. And I thought that, in my words, I would say it gets more intuitive, like there's a flow just coming out of the moment. Instead of having a plan, which I sometimes do with my art, it gets frustrating. Well, I'm going to create this or this beautiful thing. But it's a different kind of creativity with an intuitive flow that you just keep making choices, and it turns into something that is connected to your heart.
And part of the reason that happens is because this is so powerful, and if you spend time playing with all those options, you can blur one part of the image and another part. You can take color and put it in one part of an image and leave another part black and white. You can do filters and textures, and it is intuitive, and it is flows, and it does flow because of that. And the more time you spend with it, the more you learn that and you realize that.
Okay, so I'm trying to download. I've gotten about 5 images from people, so I'm trying to download them right now. We're going to try to shift into some other images, if that's okay. Or do you want to keep talking about this one while this first one downloads? I'm still going to figure this out.
Can you go back? Like, I cropped it, and I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I don't like it cropped. Can you go back to an image?
So Snapseed is a little unforgiving on going back.
Okay.
Once you have committed, it doesn't let you go back. You have to go back to the beginning.
Start over?
There are some other apps that let you go back one step at a time. And if I had the Snapseed developer in here, I'd ring his neck and I'd say, you got to do that, because it doesn't let you do that.
Okay.
Yep. It's a great question, though.
Steve, can you talk a little bit about how much time you spend going through the sort of training folks to use the...
So the question is, how much time do we spend training people? And the answer is it really depends on the population. Okay, so the kids at Mass General, about 30 seconds. Okay, the women at Rosie's Place, we spend more like 15 minutes. You know, just because a lot of them haven't even had their fingers on an iPad before. Generally, 5 to 10 minutes is all it takes. And then people are off and running. So it is very, very quick, and it's very intuitive. And most of the time is spent, you know, in discussion, people sharing images, what were they trying to communicate, a lot of group discussion, either run by a therapist or just run by the people themselves. But very little time to teach the technology, which is very important. And that's why I picked Snapseed. I don't own it, you know, and I haven't even talked to the people at Snapseed yet, which I would love to. I'd love to. What is that? Oh, that's.
Well, we're trying to figure out right now how to upload. Yeah, sorry.
There's my screensaver.
How to upload
I thought it
this
was
stuff.
It is.
You know what would be if they emailed it to Kellogg with her.
Yeah, that's what. I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android, which we don't have an adapter for, so that's on my list for next time. So I'm sending Kellogg some stuff so she can
Does anybody else have
that.
an image they want to show?
Does anyone have an iPhone that they have an image on that they want to share
And
in the
they're willing to
meantime?
plug in.
And be willing to plug in while we forward these to our amazing coworker here? Please.
I can show you the image.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I got one.
Okay, well, let's just.
Is someone else ready?
Thank
Okay,
you.
It's coming.
Do you have the lightning?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry, I just need to go back and find them. I'm going to send you all of them. Okay, I just want to acknowledge that I know it's not easy for you guys at home to see the images that we're putting up on the screen, so we're going to get better about that. I appreciate your patience, but we'll see what we can do, okay?
Okay, I have a lens also.
Go for it. Yeah, ask her.
But do you want to? You're going to have to talk in the mic.
Taking forever.
Well, I mean, for me, the image doesn't hold a whole lot of meaning yet. And I think that I imagine that that happens with some of the folks that you're working with as well. Not sure. Hi.
I think it just timed out. No. There you go.
So I was saying that here's the image.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah, you can't see it very well. It's
Yeah.
not a very clear image. But I was saying that it doesn't hold a whole lot of meaning for me yet, and that I think that, yeah, I guess I'm just, I think it takes a little time sometimes to make the meaning.
Yeah, I think it's unrealistic in 5 or 10 minutes to say you're going to create a piece of art that's deeply expressive in some personal way. The people who are doing this in our programs, you know, they go away and they do it, you know, on their own time often. You know, at Gosnell, they can check out iPads, and as part of their day, they have free time, and that's what they do, right? Or in the bipolar program, it's going to be outpatient, so they're going to be given a theme of the week. They'll go home, and during the week, at some point, they will have the ability to create an image that represents what stigma means to them, or what coping mechanisms mean to them. Another big one is warning signs. So when I sat with a therapist, let me just tell this one story real quick. I said, how do they right now develop a treatment plan that gives them an idea of what their warning signs are? And she pulled out warning signs of when they're going into a manic or a depressive cycle. And she pulled out this like 7-page form that the patients write on, and it goes in a drawer somewhere. And I said, how is that useful to the patient? And she says that it really isn't. They write it down and they never look at it. But let's say a warning sign is that you let your kitchen or part of your house become cluttered. Imagine a picture of dirty dishes in a grungy kitchen that's on a magnet in the refrigerator, an image that you created. And now that's there all the time as the, you know, your personal warning sign for helping you manage your bipolar.
So we're going to look at just one more image for the sake of time before we time out in about 11 minutes on this live feed. but I'm happy to create another one, which I'll send a link out for. But let's just play this by ear. We're going to hook one more in. Actually, you know what? Wait, take it out. We didn't even ask permission, right? I forgot about that. So people who have sent it from home, Alin, can you just tweet me or email me real quick if that's okay with you? And if there's some way you want to communicate something about this. I don't know how that'll go, but we'll see. In the meantime, who's here on?
We've got Jess Visconti.
Jess, would you be willing to? So, I think we got it here.
I got it.
So Lynn, just let me know. I'm looking out for you. If you don't want to, that's cool too. Yes, please come up, Jess. In the meantime, sometimes it takes a moment to read. There we go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So this is a picture I took a few weeks ago. So during the summer, I live in Mansfield, and it was one of my last nights at home. And I was driving home, and I saw this, and I had to pull over because you don't quite get shots like this. Oh, sorry, in Cambridge. So that's why I picked this picture to edit. It was a little bit brighter on my phone, so I'm not sure what happened. Maybe when I sent it, it got changed. Does that happen?
I mean, this is interesting things to note, right? Like what you're intending isn't necessarily what's being received, and what might that mean for our work, or how it's seen when it's projected in different ways. What might that also mean? I just want to highlight that the goal of this event is also to be an inter-program or trans-program event, not only for our on-campus and low-res master students, but Jess is joining us from the undergraduate expressive arts therapy track today. So it's just another way to kind of all figure out how to work together.
That's a really good point about screens, though.
Here.
Every screen displays differently, and every printer prints differently. So you could have the same photograph look very different on different computer screens and very different printed out by different printers on different papers also.
So I think what I'd like to do actually is, because we have some people sharing from online, but maybe we can close this part because I'm going to go dark in about 8 minutes here. And if I can start to maybe pair up some people who are in the online place and some people who are in the on-campus place, and we'll keep maybe playing with these images, or you guys figuring out together. I'm going to do it kind of arbitrarily by whoever volunteers to work kind of in smaller groups, maybe not just dyads, but triplets and
maybe
quadruplets, and share images within the smaller group, and we can go around and kind of figure this out, and people who want to do something different in their smaller groups, that can evolve. Maybe you guys can figure out a way through Link or Skype or Twitter. Remember, there's a haiku slam going, so I'm going to get that started pretty soon. Okay? So, Steve, I invite you to some final thoughts on this for like a few minutes before we go dark.
Yeah, a couple things that I would also share is the possibilities are endless on other types of art to embed into this. So one of your graduates, I can't remember her last name, Dee Dee, who is, do you anybody remember Dee Dee? Okay, so she was just hired by McLean. She's going to be working with us in the OCD Institute, and Dee Dee was focused on music here. We're going to be integrating music so that the patients, as part of an 8-week stay, imagine that they will have personal expressions of some aspect of their life, probably their OCD illness, that will integrate music and the digital imagery and text. We envision flat screen displays of these things with the patient's permission that will be essentially their memorialized expression of their experiences at McLean or some other aspect of their life. So that's just a example of how a lot of what you all focus on here in a digital world can be combined into ways of personal expression. Personally, I see this any place. I see it in prisons. I see it in community centers. I see it in schools. I see it, even for non-therapeutic purposes. When I came here in February, most of the words I was using dealt with therapy, and now we've really kind of transferred into more of a thinking of just personal expression and human connectedness. I can imagine social media, where people are communicating through EDI in unique ways, through images that have been transformed. I mean, there's just endless possibilities here, and hopefully we've been able to inspire all of you today, and I'm excited to keep working with you as you experiment and play with this some more. So that's all I have to say.
So I want to thank everyone for participating. Thank you, Steve, for your time and your entrepreneurship in kind of bringing this in a greater way, moving our work that has many branches forward in the world with regards to the ultimate goal, which is helping people connect, not just to themselves, but to each other. We're going to go dark in a few minutes on this live feed, but if you're at home and you want to connect, let me know. We're going to hook you up with some people here. You guys are then going to figure it out together with our guidance. Any questions you have, feel free to email me or tweet me, and we'll go live trying to answer those questions on Twitter. We're also doing our haiku slam. We'll also see if we can bring back a live feed, but I'm a little teched out right now, so I don't know if I can do that. For you guys, I apologize. I'll do it for the full 2 hours next time to see how it evolves so we don't have this problem next time. We might think about, the collective might think about inviting Steve back in a few months, right, to kind of see how this is continuing to develop and to see how you may be incorporating it or not incorporating it into your work and why. And just let's have a conversation. I think we're ready to go and play a little bit. Just be together and create. So wherever you are, however you are, just make some art. Okay? All the best. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here on our inaugural session for the gathering for the year. All right? All the best to everybody, and be in touch, okay, if you want to still hang out and make art together. Bye. Bye. Oh, say bye. Say bye. Yes, endings are good. Say bye.